Welcome to the Negotiations Ninja podcast, where we develop and deliver the most engaging negotiation content and training in the world. We host negotiation experts, business people, and entrepreneurs, and discuss what works, what doesn't work, and how we can improve our negotiation skills. Hey, Negotiations Ninja listeners, thank you so much for joining me once again on the Negotiations Ninja podcast. Today, our guest is Susan Ibitz. She calls herself a human behavior hacker. Much like you would have a hacker for computer systems, she hacks human behavior. She's also a researcher and a trainer in human behavior and how to read human behavior, and she focuses on statement analysis, micro expressions, face reading, and obviously body language. And we talk about some of the false assumptions that people have when it comes to human behavior and how to be better prepared to read human behavior in negotiation situations. I think so often we get hung up on one or two tools that we can use and we tout them as the gospel when it comes to reading human behavior. But science is always changing and research is always advancing when it comes to studying human behavior. So it was such a pleasure to have Susan on the show to tell us more about human behavior, how to read it, how to apply it, and how to use it in negotiations. We really only scratched the surface having this discussion. I'm hoping to have her back on again soon. Thanks so much for joining once again. Enjoy. Hi, Susan. How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
I am doing great. It's our Thanksgiving up here in Canada this weekend, so we're hours away from turkey and wine and festivities.
Oh, you are hours away from needing a bigger pant. Actually, I call it the stretchy pants party. Everybody decide to bring the best dish without counting that we're going to be like 15 and it's food to, I think we can feed all Canada with the food that we bring to Thanksgiving. Yeah. Jewish family never gonna run out of food.
Yeah, fantastic. I love it. Susan, I'm so excited to have you on because I've been reading a lot of the stuff that you post and listening to a lot of people that have recommended you very highly. And before we get into the discussion where we're going to be talking about body language and face reading, micro expression, statement analysis, all that kind of stuff, I'd love it if you could give our listeners a bit of background as to who you are, your history, and how you got to the point where you're calling yourself a human behavior hacker.
And you know how to make a girl flash. Thank you very much. Girl, well, I'm an adult woman, almost 50, so girl is a reinforcement. Well, as my accent beside my pre-winter flu can show, English is not my first language. My first language is Spanish. I was born and raised in Argentina. And 40-something years ago, we didn't have neither the technology or the studies or the pedagogical studies that we have today. And I found out that I was dyslexic. My parents were diplomats, going from where to place. And at some point, I needed to learn how to identify what is going on with people. And I found out that what happened with the face is going to predict, or with the body, is going to predict what is going to be the action naturally after. So after many, many, many years, I found out what the word savant means. Some people is natural good cooks. Some people is natural good drivers. Apparently, I was really good natural BS filter. And that's what I says I'm a behavioral hacker, because some people hack computer. I learned how to hack people, but in a way that I can improve communication, I can do a better negotiation, except when I need to fight for the control remote on soccer season. That's no way. It's no way to win.
That's super funny. And you know what, I find the title of human behavior hackers super interesting because we recently just had a discussion with Joe Navarro, and we've had Chris Voss on the show as well. And so I've gained a really, really high interest lately on body language and how we use nonverbal communication as part of our daily communication as well as part of negotiations. And you specialize in four main areas: body language, face reading, micro expressions, and statement analysis. I wonder if you could just give us a very brief description of each of those. So maybe let's start with body language. When people think of understanding body language, what is it that you'd like them to know about body language?
First of all, body language, it's an all new remastered science. I'm not inventing the wheel. First of all, I study with the best. I read from the best. So what I'm doing is I put in everything together, and I found out that the only way to do this correctly, based in my perception, is put the four channels together. Some people do body language, statement analysis separated. I decide to do it together. So body language is the way your body communicates to others what really is going on with you. Freud used to say, your face can lie, but your feet are always going to tell me where you're going to go. When you're a kid and your aunt coming to visit and your mother says, do not put that face when your auntie crosses the door, behave. So you learn how to smile, and your body shows the smile is sincere, what is not. So that's what is body language. But the trick is, sometimes I go into a bar in Chicago often, and I know the bartender, and we play taps. Who's going to go with whom? And you know what is the trick? Where the feet are facing. If they face in the door, the person is not engaged with you. If they crossing the body to the bathroom and they're wiggling the leg, it's not they are not engaging with you. They're engaging with, they need to go to the bathroom. So give it a break. So body language is what your body says. Like babies. Babies tell you with their body, but more specific, and pardon for jumping to micro expressions, who has been around since Darwin phase that everybody expressed with their faces. After many, many years, I was not going to give the complete history. Finally, Paul Ekman in the 60s get a grant to go to Papua New Guinea, to New Guinea, and different places, and find out that initially we have 6 micro universal expression, and he added a 7th one, who's contempt, who's the only one is one side of the face. But he found out that chimpanzees and human, and I have a picture that I use in my training, express the same, have the same expression. Sometimes I even look at my dog and like, oh my God, really? You look like an ex-boyfriend that I have that I really like. Babies check on you when they fail to see if they need to cry or not, because your micro expression or macro expression, the different micro and micro is, one is a quarter of the second, the other one can be in your face for almost 30 to 60 seconds. It's like, if you put a face of, oh my God, what happened? The baby gonna start crying because he realized he have your attention. So we know intrinsically, since some early age, how to read others and how the micro expressions tell me things. The problem is, growing up, we have been taught not to do that, don't show that, don't demonstrate your feelings. And actually, in a week, we have a meeting with a school here in Chicago who work with kids between 6 and 12 years who are gifted because they want to incorporate what we teach to give these kids advantage, because one of the psychologists on the school realized that they come in naturally and society is taking that away, and it's extremely needed skill to be able to predict aggression, avoiding bully, not being lied, not being deceived, and how to better communicate to others. So we have face reading, who has been with us for 5,000 years. The Chinese use it to diagnose sickness. Aristotle used it to determine the best warriors for Alexander the Great. Actually, the best physiognomist and face reader that we have on the United States, believe it or not, was Abraham Lincoln. Most people ask why he had so many people in his cabinet who haven't had the normal traditional degrees. Is because he was looking for a street smart, a specific feature on people. And he decided not by reading the resume, is by seeing the faces. And what we know today as a jury selection was found out by Judge Jones on the 20s, and in the early 50s, he finally took this to the UCLA and find out he was 95% right when he see features on people who come into the court and how they're going to react, intake, and process information.
Wow, and so that's through the features of the face, not necessarily the micro expressions of the face, but the actual physical features of the face.
Yeah, I always say micro expressions are your brain communicating to your face an emotion. Face reading is a GPS to your brain and how you process and intake information and how you communicate that information verbally.
And so maybe you could give me a couple of examples of, if someone is more visual, more of a visual learner or more of an audible learner, how do you determine that through their face and through reading their face?
For example, when a person have a small ears, actually next week I'm going to publish an article about the worst sales experience that I have in my life. And I'm doing a reading of myself and how to sell to somebody like me. And my business partner says, you're going to kill us. Like, they're going to sell everything to you. Like, nope, I still have some tricks under the head. But I have a small ears. So people who have a small ears have a small antennas. Our ears are the antennas that we use to perceive information. So if my antenna is not good, but my eyes are seeing, if you talk to me for more than 5 to 10 seconds and don't show me something, you lost me. So today everything happened in the phone. Make a Skype, make a PowerPoint presentation where I can see what you're talking about. Do a Zoom presentation where I can see the slides and the product you're going to give to me, and come back when I'm going to have questions, but I need something to see. If I need to have an appointment with you, let me write down my own appointment, because when I see when I'm writing, I'm going to remember it. Now, the opposite is a big ear who's a big antenna. So I'm going to listen to you. I may be not going to interrupt you for 10 to 15 minutes, but ask me questions. For example, you are trying to sell me a product who is not tangible, like it's a software or a service, and says, I imagine you have questions. I'm listening to you. Can I hear your questions? This turn you in, this bell your ear. Those are audit words who gonna go with him. And remember something, the people who have big ears need consistency. So you need to be consistent in carefully how to approach that person without making a mistake.
So if you can effectively read the face of the person that you're selling to or that you're buying from, then you can change your language to suit their needs. So for example, if they need bigger ears, you can say things like, I hear you, instead of saying something like, I see what you're saying.
Actually, we do a training who is selling on the phone and falling in love. And in one part, we have a black screen and people have flashcards. And we says, hello, how you doing? My name is X and Y. And other people present themselves. So another person who present us says, okay, now 5 people are going to present themselves. You have the names on the card. Tell me who is angry, who want to be here, who is happy, and who you don't know what is going on. And I start presenting myself. I'm like, hey, how you doing, everybody? I'm Susan Ibitz. I'm your teacher, and you better be ready because you are mine for the next 2 days. And another person present themselves. And people, almost 95% is right when they says, oh, that person doesn't want to be here, is not happy, is fake. So I always say, first of all, put a mirror when you're talking to someone on the phone to know what you're saying. And if a person is visual, who have a small ears, you're going to find words like, I see, oh, I look, I view what you're saying, show me, oh, illuminate me, I can imagine, I see this idea kind of foggy, can you give me a better picture? Those are visual words.
Interesting.
Now, if the person is auditory, is going to hear, I hear you, I listening, sounds good. Oh, the old ears, ring a bell to me, must be silent, be heard, that resonate with me. I have a question, is I'm hearing to me.
Very, very interesting.
So you determine that person have bigger ears or small ears for something so simple as the word that we use. And I would say, and I know most people are going to come back and grab my jugular on the neck when they says the 93% of our communication coming from the body and only 7 language is because nobody has taken a look on forensic linguistic or statement analysis. Right. Actually, the Unabomber was catch after 17 years. The FBI was doing an amazing job, but they couldn't narrow what it was going on until Agent Fitzgerald and Robert Shy get together and says, it's not what the person is saying, it's what's omitting to be said and how it's said. And finally, he was to 6 to 9 months after bars. I have the luxury and pleasure to, among a lot of people that study and call him my mentor and friend, today with Amino and Sapir, who in 1987 came to the United States, and he has been training everyone from FBI, CIA, police, how to use the statement analysis. For example, if I says, Mark, who you went to lunch today with? Tell me.
I'm going out to lunch with my wife.
Okay. So you're not going together, you're going with her.
That's right.
It's a different. If I say to you, goodbye, do you recall the last time that you say goodbye to someone?
Yeah, it was this morning.
Okay, probably you have a conflict with that person. I'm not going to see it again. Because the difference between the word goodbye and bye is goodbye, you usually, I'm not going to see you never again. Bye, see you later, is different. But goodbye is a specific word. If somebody say it after you are trying to deal and do business, you're not done selling. Go back and do it.
Okay, so that creates somewhat of a definite statement.
Yeah, so it's not a replacement for yes or not. If somebody is reluctant to answer, that's a hotspot. Like, hey, do you think we're going to make the deal? Do you think that we're going to go to the cinema? And somebody says, I'm not sure I'm the right person to ask. And he or she is the only person in the room. It's something that you need to pay attention. If somebody is telling you, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I was late to the meeting. I'm having problems with my car. Okay, it's 3 p.m. The problems happen at 8 a.m. Why are you talking about the action on the present? When you construct a lie, you construct it on the present. If you're recalling from the past, the action is in the past. And how weird than a person who English is not their first language and has such a strong accent is good with this. For that reason, I pay attention. Your house is not the same your home. Home is where your heart is. Your house is the place where you're going to sleep.
Oh, so that's so interesting. You know, a lot of our listeners are are salespeople and procurement people. So basically professional negotiators. They negotiate all day long, and they're trying to close deals. If you could give them advice or one skill that maybe they could learn on each of these four areas. So we talked about body language, face reading, microexpression, statement analysis. I think I got that right. What is the one thing that you think that people should learn from each of these areas to close better deals?
I'm gonna say something. I always quote other people because, again, if not broken, don't fix it. If there's well done the study, why are you gonna get your hands on other one? Nalini Ambari, and it's so bad that she's not with us anymore because she wouldn't have done I don't know what else. Find out that we have 5 seconds to make a first impression. The good news, and we have the five seconds to make a first impression. The bad news, you have 5 seconds to make a good impression. The relief, it has nothing to do with us. One thing the first I says to the people is, don't take it personal. They don't know you. Maybe you remind them to a bad relationship, or they like you because they like your perfume or the way you walk. What you can do to do better is micro expressions, to learn when it's a micro expression and it's not a tick. Make a baseline on words, on body, on face, and micro expressions. As I always say, I use eyewear, I use frames. So when I'm going to go to a meeting with a person who doesn't know me, I wear my eyeglasses because people who wear eyeglasses tend to pull the eyeglasses with the nose. And if I just learn micro expressions and I don't know the difference between baseline and tick and what is a micro expression, I can confuse the your discuss with me. So I would say learn baseline.
So what do you mean baseline? Like what does that actually mean? That you're actually trying to understand what their normal behavior is, and then anything that deviates from that normal behavior? Is that what you mean?
Yes, and I have a really good trick to do baseline. For example, if you walk in a meeting and the person has lower distance between the eyebrow and the eyelid, it's a person who's going to be really friendly, is going to be open, is not going to have any problem to go the proximity, who is the distance between body, but doesn't mean that person is going to buy from you. So you're going to know that this person is going to be more agitated with the hands, and is going to be more playful. So probably the baseline is when this person is not feeling comfortable, the playfulness is going to stop happening. The hands are going to be quiet and the body is going to be quiet. So don't give them any reason to feel as if you're questioning or judge them. Try to go back to the engagement that you was doing before when this person was playful. That is a baseline. If the person has a high distance between eyelids and the eyebrows, is more reserved, they need their formulate personal space, will depend on how comfortable they are with people and situations. So if the person is distant in the beginning, but during the conversation it starts shortening the space between both and is more playful, meaning that you open the bridge. If that doesn't happen, take a look. If not the person is lying or is distance with you, is the way that person take information. So some people, for example, I have an aphasia in my face. I have an accident many, many years ago when I was 5 years old. I fell from my bike and healed natural because I was really young. But now with the time, my right side of the face, it's showing a little deviation, who everybody have, but I noticed this. So when I smile with a crooked smile. And my picture in LinkedIn is me with eyeglasses, because after you take one of my classes, you realize why it's so important when people look in your eyes. Everything is in your eyes. So it's kind of a trick mark. So what I said is, and I smiling, and most people says, oh, you have contempt. Like, no, if you know me enough, you're going to know that's the way I smile, because my left side is stronger than my right one. So it's not content. So make me laugh, talk to me, ask me about my family. If you have round eyebrows, you're a people person. I'm going to ask you, I'm sure you're going to have pictures about your family. If I'm on the phone with you, I'm going to say, hey, how you doing? So any interested happened this weekend? Or if, I don't know, the person is in baseball and basketball. Now we have football, and I saw the Penn was playing on Sunday or Saturday. I know you like it. Start talking about the game, who he watched the game, if he had beer, the grill food. It's people oriented. If it's straight eyebrows, 1, 2, 3. Show a bullet point, go to the point, tell how is the solution they're going to bring, how much it's going to cost, and how time you're going to use to implement it. And the people with pointy eyebrows, who are like a triangular shape, are people who like to be in control, and they like to be right based on data. So they're going to know everything before you approach to them. So those are the baseline that you need to mark to know what is personal and what is not. But the most important baseline you need to learn to do is yourself. Because one of the don't in this business of negotiation and sales is to differentiate when somebody's acting or reacting to you. If I see somebody who's mad with me, I'm going to check myself if I, A, have a bad call before I went to that person, if I have a bad day, if I feel bloated and I check the wrong dress, if I have a hair in my nose and I didn't want it and I'm more concentrated, so I'm disgusted with that. And I showing that to the person in front, inconsciously, even the person doesn't know how to read me, the inconscious brain is going to say, I don't trust this person. So check yourself. Make sure that you are not the one who's generating the other person react or act to you.
Yeah. And so that, I mean, to me, that makes a lot of sense, because baselining in all negotiations, I think, is super, super important, because it requires you to be significantly more observant. And I think that that's one thing that a lot of us don't do very well, because we're trying so hard to focus on what we're going to say versus observing how the other person is responding to the situation. And so I think the one thing that we can really think about is, you know, how are they sitting? What do they look like? And try and assess what their baseline situation is, so that we can start to notice deviations from their normal behavior. And when you said know your own baseline, I think that that's critical information, because, you know, in negotiation, there's the concept of mirroring. So if the other person is mirroring your behavior, you need to be able to recognize that they're mirroring your behavior, right?
Yeah, you need to be careful, because if you try to mirror in someone without knowing what is going on, you're going to make the other person mad. Teaching the micro expression, sometimes I make people I always make them bring the mirror, but depending on the audience, I make them to do the 7 expression on the face. And what is anger? Some people get really pissed off. Like, okay, we're playing. It's a game. Like, no, now I'm mad. I need a break. And I have people who have walked away like, whoa, this person needs to check, because going from 0 to 100 is really fast. So I was listening to the podcast you did with Jack Cambria, person that I admire. I have the honor to study with him, and we are friends. And one thing then I learned by Jack and Mac Lofer is, when I did the hosted negotiation training with them, is active listening, no prejudgment, be objected and not subjected.
Yes.
And I was preaching on that when you hear it from people who have seen others blowing their own brains, or, for example, the example Jack got in your podcast about when he was in Central Park in the St. Patrick Parade, and the woman was asking, and he wasn't checking himself. So I think that is amazing, and it's like, I know that. I was well educated. If my mom or my grandmother is here, she would spank me, take the flip-flop spanked me because, yeah, I haven't behaved. I wasn't open and listening. I was with my head, like you said, more worried about what you're going to say to reply to you than really listening what you need from me. And I always said, even in a dating, in a negotiation, when a sales, people is giving you the information they need. You are not listening to them. So one of the things that I love about face reading is I can know how to talk to you even before I know you. And actually in 2008, Larry King did a special between CNN Fortune Live and CNN about how face reading is happening, and companies like IBM, AT&T, GE, American Airlines, MCI, lawyers, and doctors are using face reading to know how to communicate with others, because it's crazy in a world where we were supposed to be so in top communication. We have a horrible gap where people doesn't know how to talk to each other, because I'm going to talk to you if I don't know how I want to receive information, know how you need it. And the point is, I want to sell to you, it's how you need it. You want to sell to me, I'm going to inform you how I need it.
That's, yeah, what great advice. And so I think there's a nugget of information there that I really want to focus in on, because I think it's brilliant, is when people are selling or when people are buying from someone, the way that you're selling into that person or the way that you're negotiating with that person is often the way that you want to be negotiated with, not necessarily how they want to be negotiated with. And so if you can identify what their baseline is to determine how they actually operate, then you can address their needs significantly better and sell to them how they want to be sold to.
Definitely. That's 100% right. And you can do it even you met that person. Can you imagine walking on a meeting knowing how that person needs to receive information with the right material and how that person is going to process that information and how long that person is going to need to make the decision? Imagine that you have the best product on the world. People buy products for you, not only for the product. It happened to us that we was hiring a service and was the best service available on the market. And the sales rep pushed me too far. I have high eyebrows, pointy high eyebrows. I did all my research, took me a month to review everything, and finally made the decision that what service we're going to go. The sales rep, after a great performance, started using a scarcity. Cialdini, I studied with Cialdini, so I know what you're doing. Great, perfect. You read the book. I studied with him. I know what you're doing. And he started pushing like, we need to sign today before 6 p.m. The price is going to go up. We're not going to be able to do the contract for 2 years. And at one point says, I let it go. And my business partner says, that is the best service. Like, I don't want to be treated like cows on the meat market. Yeah. I'm a person. And if you come into my personal space, it's too much. And I call the guy and says, I'm going to send you a report that what you did wrong with me, and not as a offended thing, is to help you to do it better, because you was doing it really great at a certain point. It was funny because I found this guy going to my LinkedIn like every 2 days to see if I have a picture without my glasses. And he wrote to me like, can you send me a picture of your face without glasses so I can understand better what I did wrong? I'm like, yeah, no problem. So he killed a huge commission because he delivered it right. He showed me the information because I told him, I'm visual, show me. But when it was time to do the closing, I says, do not rush me. What he did, he got desperate. At the end of the month, he went to close the commission, lost it. He lost a 2-year contract.
Interesting. Brilliant. Love it. Now, I know that my listeners listening to this are thinking, okay, body language, face reading, micro expression, statement analysis, fantastic, super interesting information. But how do I tell if someone's lying to me in a negotiation? How do I use those skills to determine whether or not someone is being deceitful and lying to me?
I always, when people ask me for that question, I says, I'm going to give you an example who doesn't belong to me, but it's on the book Lie the Spy. Three ex-CIA interrogators, Floyd, Houston, and Carnicero, wrote this book. And one of the part of the book, I don't remember if it's Floyd or Houston, says he was coming from the CIA headquarters, went home, and asked his 15 years old, "Hey, son, do you have homework?" "Oh, we have a substitute teacher this week." And he went to his bedroom. 15 minutes later, he says, "Oh my God, I can interview the Taliban and my 15 years old just play me." So he went to the room of his kid and says, "Did your substitute teacher give you homework?" "Yes, actually more homework than my teacher gives me usually." "Do you have done it?" "No." So what I always says is people lie to you when you don't do the right questions. You let people lie to you.
Interesting. So what do you mean by that? Like you let people lie to you by not asking the right questions. What do you mean by that?
Okay. I'm going to give you a list of things, but the first things I want to be clear is, I'm going to ask a question, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Mark, and I'm sorry if it sounds like that, but
no, let's do it.
When a person is lying to you, is going to look at you more or less?
Less.
Why?
Because they're nervous and they can't maintain eye contact.
Well, how do I know if you're eating my lies if I don't look at you all the time? Actually, people who lie is going to be looking at you all the time because they want to make sure that you're buying their lies.
Interesting. So they're trying to maintain that eye contact to ensure that you're buying what they're selling.
Yep. Actually, studies show that people look at you more when they lie because they want to make sure. How you know the person is buying your life? When they look at your face.
Very cool.
Yeah. So another thing is, for example, something that we call cognitive overload. Take to your brain 30% more time to make a lie than a truth. So if the person is going around and around, be careful, because if you ask me, first of all, an open-ended question or a closed-ended question. An open is, "Oh, tell me what you did this morning." And a closed question is, "Are you going to the wedding? Yes or no?" So manage your questions. So how you know when somebody's lying to me? Verbally, failure to answer, failure to deny is no replacement for yes or not. So non-specific denial. Did you do it? I didn't do anything, or I will never do something like that. Hey, you can say no, yes. Why you need to embellish so much? So I get lost. Isolating denies is when their denies is not guard or composed on the question. Reluctant to answer. I'm not sure I'm being the right person to ask. No answer, saying, "Oh, I'm glad you asked that." Oh, that's a legitimate concern you have. We should talk about it. Hey, I asked you if I'm going to be promoted. Is yes or no? Going to the attack mode is like, "Hey, why are you coming so late? You smell like cheap men perfume." "Why are you attacking to me? How you say that when everybody says no, yes?" Never happened to you? You want to talk to somebody and go in the attack mood and you leave the meeting and like, "Wait a minute, I feel like somebody slapped me in the face and oh my God, they play me." Never was a yes or no. Like again, the kids who didn't do the homework. Inappropriate level of concern. I always say that you have something missing. You need to ask the person, what do you think should happen to the person who did it? you're going to talk to your kids and like, you know what, son? What do you think should happen to a kid who is caught with a joint on the living room? There's nothing. I'm a kid. Like, oh, really? You just confirmed that you was lying to me, that you was smoking weed. Why? Because I'm a kid. Nothing. So there are levels of ways to go with terms, and, or for example, extremely religious. Says, okay, you like my proposal? Do you think I should come back to you? Like, I swear to God, I'm going to be back to you. Like, oh, we're using religion. I don't like it. Invoking religion is one of the things like, hey, it's a mistake here. I swear on God, I have nothing to do.
There's some false assumptions around lying, because I feel like we have these assumptions that, their body language, quote unquote, experts from decades ago say, when you look up and to the right, you're being deceitful and you're lying, and you're up and to the left, you're telling the truth. Is there any truth to that, or is that all fabrication?
Okay, when Bander and Erickson started with this on the 70s, they were in a really good path. And I'm a neurolinguistic certified, I don't remember what is the title, and I'm sorry, I don't want to be offended with the neurolinguistic people. It was my first degree like many decades ago. But when they started with the studies, I think they did a huge advance in what we have to do today. But we didn't have the technology that we have today to prove that some things are not that way. And I think the biggest misconception proven to the fMRI are that, again, without a baseline, we cannot determine that a person is audit or visual because they move in the eyes to one side or another. I write and handle things with my two hands. So I use my watch on the right hand, and most people understand that I'm a lefty. No, I do everything with my left except writing, because when I was a kid, they make me start writing with the right. But besides that, I do everything with the left. So my brain is mixing information all the time. When I try to remember something, audit or visual, I close my eyes and lower my head because I try to visualize it inside my head, and too much stimulus confuse me. So my personality and the way to relate to things doesn't have any space in neurolinguistic. So what you do with a person like me, based on that, you cannot do anything. So it's proof that you need to make, again, a baseline. If a person every time that you says, hey, do you ever hear the voice of dinosaurs? And the person go to a certain place. You ever saw a pink Lamborghini? Is going to try to remember from construction. So you need to make questions to set a baseline on that. But the kind of question you need to do, it's more like pre-polygraph, and it's too obvious. So it can be risky.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. I love this conversation. It's been very, very, very insightful. And if people wanted to follow your work and find out what you're doing online, how do they do that?
Well, we're trying to be as much in the media as we can and publish articles who are related to what is going on outside. So I would say you can follow us on LinkedIn. My name is Susan Ibitz. We try to post videos to find out if you're an introvert or an extrovert, how to do that, funny comments, because sometimes it's good to have something funny to laugh about it on Monday. We have face reading of personalities, and we always ask people, tell us what you want to see. So our website is humanbehaviorallab.com, where you're going to find more information about us. And we are in Twitter and Instagram. But I would say I would love to see your face and have a real interaction. And I think LinkedIn is amazing from that, of Facebook. Human Behavioral Lab, it's our Facebook page, because I want to see you, I want to talk to you. Yesterday, a lieutenant from New York sent us a request to talk. And I pick up the phone and says, hey, Lieutenant X and Y, I'm Susan Ibitz. And like, you answered the phone? Like, yeah. You answered to your request? Like, yeah, I want to know you. And after that, I'm going to send you with whatever, or depending on what you need. But I want to know who you are. I want to know who the people out there who follow what we do is, because it's part of what we do. What a human behavior lab. So we would love to hear about people comments, good and bad. You learn from both.
Love it. Fantastic. And for the listeners, just so that you know, I will be linking out to Susan's website, humanbehaviorlab.com, so that you can get access to some of the cool things that she has worked on and her team has worked on. Susan, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been very, very interesting, and I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate yours. Thank you very much for having me. I saw the people you have in your podcast, and I was really intimidating to be here. I hope I didn't mess it up. Like, you're talking with an introvert with social skills, remember?
You did a great job. I'm so impressed with you. And thank you again so much for being on.
Thanks to you. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving and New Year.
Ladies and gents, if you're interested in some of the cool things we discussed today or the resources or books we mentioned, take a look at the show notes. If you're interested in negotiation and you want to find out more about what we do, you can find us at negotiations.ninja. That's the negotiations with an S, .ninja, not .com. Thanks so much for joining me. And if you enjoyed the show, please share it through your favorite online social media channel, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever you most enjoy. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.